If something in your life has been feeling kind of misaligned and you just can't explain it, this message brought you here today to let you know what's been going on. Okay, so I have outcomes, and then I started with kind of like what's been going on that's been creating the feeling of stuff kind of feeling disheveled, and it's 222 my time, just to let you know. Okay, so first thing we have is 7 of water. So this is when it's this way, very much about creation and creativity, and that brings movement and fluidity in your life. So with it being reversed tells me that there has been a stagnation inside of the creative forces of your life. So I'm feeling a bit of complacency has happened, and there's been a trend with quite a few of my clients, as well as even myself, these last few months when I've been doing reads, is that it feels like you may have been in this like holding pattern, something that feels like this quicksand pull or like almost like a purgatory. And I'll go a step further with that. It's that you went through a portion of your life, probably around like 2017 to like 2020, maybe a little bit before, a little bit after. And there was a lot of forward momentum, a lot of forward progression. Like you would have probably during these times used the words that like, wow, I'm totally not who I used to be. And not just because you like literally got older, is that you felt the progression. You may have been even like consciously working towards changing or letting go something. So this could have been with parents, past relationships, traumas, etc. Okay. And so there was these portions of yourself, and your self-identity was starting to be able to come forward. Well, what started to happen though, for a lot of you, is that what came forward was then the attachment to like the spiritual world, because more than likely this world was introduced to you already, besides like today, and the bypassing of self-responsibility started to happen. And what I mean by that is there was the beginning of your lifetime in which things happen to you, and then we become a person. And then we start to educate ourselves upon behaviors, personalities, and habits that we have, and sometimes where those stem from. And so there's this like time of our life that we're realizing like, oh, I got trauma, from this experience, I had these feelings of neglect from, this parent or this situation. And then we're finding like forgiveness in it. We're gaining grace in it. And we're learning just in a way where the origins of some of our things about ourselves came from. Well, then now you're in the portion of self-responsibility. And so it's a matter of realizing that you are a spiritual being having a human experience. So we're not to just be completely human and completely in our minds, only in our heads and only doing and only action-based and very literal and very black and white with everything. Okay, that's not the answer either. So this is being urged to come back into your life. So creativity, mixed with the harnessing power without it being a giving your power away, without it being the self-reliance upon, okay? And what magician is the spiritual side of you, the intuitive side of you, connecting to the universe, God, spirit, source energy. Is the universe is kind of letting you know right now it is a mix of both. It's a kind of a mix of both, of realizing like the nudges are coming from within your body, but if your mind is overrunning and overruling those types of intuitive thoughts, they get squashed like a bug. It's like the game of telephone. By the time they come through the end, it's totally misread and misinterpreted. Like, that's not it. And so what's causing that? So we have a little bit of a cause card. And what the Emperor card is coming in is that sometimes we rebel against someone saying something about ourselves. And let me clarify with that. So with me personally, one of the things that I've been learning over this last year and a half about myself is how much I bypassed my experience despite not thinking that I did. And how much, because of the work that I personally have been led to do by the universe, my story is a little bit different than others. I didn't like seek out this work and try to do it. It kind of just like happened. And whenever I didn't do it, my life seemed not really work out. So that's another story. But one thing that was happening to me, that when something was brought to my attention about myself, maybe the way that I maybe made someone feel, or the way that I was speaking to someone, etc., I noticed rather than just being receptive to listen, because it doesn't always mean that somebody's right. That's true. But whenever there's this like deflective nature and almost like we are trying to be on the pedestal, like legitimately, like listen to me because I don't want you to make me feel like I'm less than what I am, because then I'm going back into everything that I just changed and you're not going to take my voice away from me. But you don't understand. I learned all about this stuff. So therefore I know more than you and my way is right. Okay. So that's just another form of egoic control. It's just another form of victimization, even though we feel like in that moment, you may be making the best decision possible and you may actually be rising in your stance and your power and what you know. Well, the thing is like when we are ever in the mindset that we know everything and we have nothing to learn in any situation, or even just room to just like listen to somebody else's perspective or opinion and then give them that grace of realizing like, is there ever been any situations in which you may have emotionally opened up or communicated to someone your feelings and then they were dismissed because they thought they were too dramatic or too extravagantly stated, and then they're overcompensating for their actions upon you? I know that I can. And so this is the aspect where we have to allow authority to sometimes lead us. I'm not saying control you, and I'm not saying diminish your power, but I am suggesting very highly towards you that this is a time to take direction and feedback very seriously. Okay. It's really, really, really going to benefit you right now to what's headed in the future, as well as bring quite a bit of clarity into your life. So you're going to notice that you're going to have a whole lot more forward momentum coming, and you're not going to be doing something. You're not going to be specifically like, I'm taking this thing to get this result. You're going to start lessening the aspect of the overcompensation to say what you've done and how you've done it. And you're just going to be with it. Okay. And if you're a person that maybe has, let's call it like slacked off or haven't really been engaging much in forms of, again, creativity. And I mean, when I say creativity, I mean like legitimately some form of creative action from yourself. This could be working in the yard with your hands in the landscape. I know it's winter in most countries and such. I mean, I don't really have winter here in Puerto Rico, but nevertheless, working with your hands on something, woodworking, painting, sewing, singing, playing a musical instrument, making felt ornaments. Something I enjoy. I also enjoy reading. So like, is that necessarily creative? No, but it is something that like brings me joy. And it is something that like I find my mind is not necessarily escaping the human experience. It's being within it. And it's doing something by reading, but I'm not doing because I'm looking for an outcome. I'm just like really sitting in it. So I do actually attest my reading to a creative process for me. So this is something to focus on. Okay. So how can you be more creative in your life without intending to be creative in your life, without putting it as a to-do list? Where you're sitting and what you're doing, like, how is it? Are you just like voiding out, or are you like, yeah, you went on Netflix or Peacock and you're watching Downton Abbey because you like freaking love Downton Abbey? You're not escaping from the world. Yeah, you went on your phone and you're on Instagram. You enjoy looking at recipes or people's businesses succeeding or learning about social media or looking up felt patterns. Okay. Like everything doesn't always have like a negative to it. But if you're on there and your kids are screaming or you haven't talked to your spouse or whatever, and that's kind of can be like an avoidance where where one of my children is kind of having a tantrum. I mentally don't want to deal with it. And I just sit on my phone. I think the worst thing I could do for them as well as myself. The better thing for me to do, even if I verbally don't know how to handle it with them, is like just sitting there or as much as I can, like just sitting. Instead of trying to literally omit myself from the situation because I don't want to feel it. Okay. So some 2 finalization cards in terms of literalness of this for you, if this isn't registering quite yet, is that what makes this feel like there's light at the end of the tunnel? Because it literally says it's the light at the end of the tunnel. Okay. And breathe a sigh of relief and make new plans. Relocation or travel. Doesn't always mean relocation and travel. Sometimes this could be a promotion. This could be just new ideas flooding through. Any type of stagnancy you had in a relationship could be moving. Maybe all of a sudden you have this like newfound sense of self and you're like walking every day, and you're not walking to lose weight. You're not walking to say that you walked. You're walking because it feels good to walk. Okay. And then lastly, we have everything happens for a reason, release regret, and embrace opportunities for happiness. Search for the silver lining. Okay. So we have opportunity all around us. We really do. We're just sometimes super narrow visioned and more importantly, super stubborn about how we want something to look, how we want something to go, and when we refuse to let go of something, or because maybe at a portion of your life you felt inadequate, that how dare you not know something today. And that gets in our way. Like that can totally get in our way. So yes, very much creative energy match is starting something brand new. So what I am going to give a suggestion with that I am feeling kind of like a clarification nudge is when they're saying start something brand new, again, creatively, you may have been working towards something all this time. They're not necessarily saying that that's been a bad idea or a wash. It's like in conjunction to that, those moments of me making felt ornaments, or I have a few other just like, I call them hobby online ways of making income. I don't even really call them a business, at least not yet, because they're not. So I dabble with a few things out of the creative outlet. Even though this has been like, this industry has been my business for years, 2, 3, 4, I'm really like just in this aspect of when my life was so fluid and so open and I was super detached to the outcomes of anything. I also had like this stamp stationery business for years that did so well. It really did. And then something psychologically was like, I must dismiss this and push this away and only go this direction. Because I mean, if I really want this, this is what I'm going to do, right? I totally had way more than enough time to do that. I really did. I started to kill off the creative outlet for myself. And then another thing I see a lot of, just to divert just slightly to the side, is like, don't give your power away to freaking AI systems. Use them as tools, but don't let them take away from you, okay? And then lastly, this is going really well with the Emperor card. For your last card today, it says apply self-regulation and accept feedback. Again, the control. We might get defensive when somebody is giving a suggestion. Let's not take every word that creates an internal emotion inside of ourselves that makes us not feel good as the victimization of self. It more times than not is not anymore. It once was. It once was a pain to you. You are not that little person anymore. You are not that person you were 5 years ago, much less 15 and 20 years ago. You can't live behind that story your whole life. I mean, you can, but it's not going to work out. It's not going to change things for you. So it is. We want to whine a little bit. I mean, I know that I do. Like, are you kidding me? Like, I want to go cry in the corner. I don't want to be a big girl right now. Like, no, thank you. I don't want to have to lead stuff. Like, isn't supposed to people do that for me? I don't mean like I sit around and do nothing, but it's that emotional type of like, please, can't I just be a child again? So I get it. Like, I get it. It really is 100% self-responsibility and self-accountability. And to realize that it's us now, those traumas and those pains and behaviors and personality traits that we learned from other people. And then we learned how we got them from other people, and then learned all these like different techniques and releases and clearings about them. Well, then you went through this like purgatory, stagnancy, sort of like, again, climax has just been like waiting for that to happen. And it's just been kind of like meh. Well, it's because everything is now the reflection of us and our own creation, because you're that freaking powerful. All right. So if you want to find out like what's actually been creating that off feeling, check in the description below. I have a link to a free quiz. It helps just pinpoint kind of like the identity between all of it. It's not a label. It's not a box. It's not like this is who you'll always be. It just brings you some clarity that you can find for yourself.